friends. I'm Yvonne Davis, and this is my channel where I do general astrology and political astrology. And today I have a video for you on what's happening in the alignments for Donald Trump right now. And I'll probably do a video on Eric Trump as well. And I just want to give you a quick update on my life. I was passing through Denver, stopping to visit a friend for a night or two, and while I was here, my friend got hit by a car. So I have become the de facto 24-hour in-home caretaker. So fortunately, I'm still able to work, and I will continue to do so, but I'm thinking probably won't have time for reading comments and responding. So just understand that I will do my best to continue with all of my work and including my videos. All right, so let's go ahead and look at that chart. Okay, so as many of you know, you've been watching my channel for a long time, the inner wheel is Donald Trump's natal chart. And I use whole signs, so sometimes people get a little confused if they're used to seeing a different kind of a different kind of house system, like Placidus. So I use whole sign, which means that whatever the house is, it starts at 0 degrees. So we're going to look at the Pisces full moon for September 1st. And there are some very interesting alignments happening at this time. There is a T-square, and this is probably the most important one that we're going to talk about, but I'm going to point them all out first, then talk about them individually. So at the time of the full moon, maybe I'll start with the Grand Cross. The full moon is at 10 degrees. And so you can see here, moon, 10 degrees of Pisces, 12 minutes, and the sun, 10 degrees, Virgo, 12 minutes. Now, these are his money houses, okay? So what that does is that brings something to fruition or illumination regarding the money, okay? The 8th house is the house of joint finances. So probably we would see something being brought to fruition and illumination around joint finances, which is something we've been waiting for, you know, with the New York court case against Donald Trump and getting his financial information. Okay, so I think we're going to see some progress on that with this full moon in his money houses. Now, at the time of this full moon, there is a grand cross. And what that means is there's Mercury down here in the second house of income, and Mercury is information, communication, documentation, things like that. It's opposite Neptune, which is attempting to obscure things. And it is in a grand cross with the nodes, which are moving into conjunction with the sun and north node. So there are a lot of karmic things coming to bear with these nodes. So that forms what's called a grand cross. And for those of you who aren't familiar, a grand cross is significant pressure because it means there are two oppositions. There's opposition of Mercury and Neptune, which again is all about trying to obscure the information and documentation around his finances. And it's in a square to the nodes, which is karmic, okay? So, and that's a pretty tight square. Mercury there at 24 degrees is moving into an exact square to the nodes. And this Neptune has been here for quite a while in a square to his natal sun and north node and natal moon and south node. So there's a lot of karmic pressure there. coming to bear. And so we're going to see what the results of that will be. And it's definitely not going to be easy for him. I don't think that I don't see this as working in his favor. The pressure, the intensity of this, the opposition, the squares, and the karmic nature of it all. All right, then the second one I want you to look at is the T-square. So we've got Venus here moving into a conjunction with Venus in his 12th house of secrets. And Venus is all about things that we value. It represents everything to do with money and finances and value and wealth and also relationships. And so in his 12th house, there are things kept secret, things that are hidden around his finances and possibly relationships, especially with women. So I don't know in this case which will manifest. I'm suspecting, though, it's definitely about money. There's no doubt about that. And then in opposition to that is Saturn. So you can see here Saturn at 25 degrees of Capricorn, 55 minutes in a retrograde pattern. And it's in opposition to his natal Venus at 25 degrees, 44 minutes. And I did a video showing when it's going to be exact, and it'll actually be exact twice. The first time is the retrograde, and the third time is direct. And it's also in opposition to the transiting Venus. So when you see this, and by the way, the Mars retrograde up here, station retrograde, is making a huge, huge difference in this whole picture. But when you see the Venus opposition to Saturn, that in itself is challenging. I don't think any astrologer would say that this is not a feel-good alignment. It can be integrated. This is in the sky, so we're all experiencing this Venus opposition to Saturn. And as I mentioned, the situation in my own personal life, this T-square landed in a very difficult way on my friend's chart that I would say is the signature for the accident. And with Mars retrograde, it will be also the recovery. So this is not a happy alignment for anyone, ever, you know. But some of us, because of the way it lands on our chart, will not experience a severe difficulty, whereas others will. So again, it just depends on how it's landing in your chart. And always, if you want to know, you can always find the link in the description box below to order a reading. I'm still doing my specials right now. So again, this is difficult. Venus is everything to do with what we value, what we desire, what matters to us, what we're passionate about, wealth, money, relationships. So yeah, Venus 12th house is probably about money. And then Saturn is all about restriction, constriction, limitation. It squeezes things. I often call it the Saturn squeeze because you can feel it. Like, oh, feel that like contraction. Whatever it happens to be. Usually it's something related to authority. Not always. Sometimes it can just be the situation itself. Sometimes it's related to authority, especially in Capricorn. So in his 6th house of work, an opposition here is related to secrets about his money and the authorities who are bearing down on him. And then the Mars forming the T-square makes it super intense. So a Venus opposition to Saturn is never pleasant. But when you're adding in the Mars T-square, especially when it's stationing retrograde, that is like taking a very difficult, unpleasant situation where you're being squeezed and, you know, maybe in a variety of ways, again, depending on how it lands in your chart. For me, it's just the I have this new responsibility of being a caretaker for a friend who's injured. So that for me is the limitation now. So, and the responsibility that is laid on my shoulders. So that's the example for me. So I just want to help you to understand the different ways that could manifest for different people, depending on how it lands in your chart. So you might look for this in your chart as well. How is this impacting me personally? Ask yourself that question. Is there something I value? Could be a person, or something else of value, or just something internally that you value, and there's something bearing down on you. Could feel like squeezing or pressure or opposition, but it's not pleasant. Let me just put it that way. So with the added injection of Mars stationing retrograde, you get this injection of a kind of discomfort or conflict. And again, it's going to be relative to how it's landing in your chart. Could be mild, or it could be severe. So we see the whole range of things. So the way it's landing on Donald Trump's chart, I think this looks pretty severe to me. The ninth house rules court cases, all things legal, political, information out there in the public sphere. And so, my best interpretation of this is it definitely has something to do with the finances and the impact of that, as like a pebble in a pond, it ripples outwards. All the impact that this is going to have with the finances, in his 12th house of secrets, and the authority, the government authority pressing down on him, and the legal court case, and the conflict in that, and forming this square, that the injection of that Mars energy. It's super, super intense right now. It's about as intense as you can get when a Mars is stationing retrograde. That energy is super, super intense. And it's again, depending on how it lands in your chart, could feel like this injection of venom almost. It's just, it's the heat, it's the conflict, it's the intense pressure. This is not a happy configuration at all. And it's going to remain in that stationary position for quite a while, because this is the alignment for September 1st, and it doesn't technically go retrograde until the 9th at 28 degrees, but it's already stationary retrograde. That energy is about as intense as you can possibly get it. And it's just injecting into this opposition, forming this T-square. Very intense. And then add to that, Lilith is in conjunction to Mars. So she's becoming part of this T-square as well at 24 degrees. Black Moon Lilith is the apogee of the moon. That's the shadow, okay? So the shadow is in the mix as well. So this is not a happy situation for him at all. And I think definitely with the full moon illuminating the 8th house of joint finances, which includes taxes and other things, all kinds of documentation that you would use for your taxes, for banks, loans, inheritance, anything like that. Any kind of financial documents would be found in the 8th house of joint finances. So the moon is going to bring some kind of revelation, illumination. All right, and then there's one more square that I want to point out, which is Uranus in his 10th house squaring Pluto in his 1st house of self. So this is his sense of power, and Uranus is squaring off against his sense of power. He's been feeling this for a while, and it's this constant feeling of shock to the system for him. So I'm sure he's feeling tremendous anger, rage, You know, even if we don't see it publicly, which we often do, we know how he acts. We know how he talks when he is enraged and he attacks people. And so, no doubt he is feeling that very intensely. And the 10th house is the public house. Okay, so all of this is happening. This questioning of his authority and power is happening in a very public way. So I don't think this is going to be a happy full moon for him. All right, so I'm going to bring that to a close now. And again, I'll try to get the video on the alignments for Eric Trump fairly soon, because I think that's also extremely interesting how the alignments are landing on his chart. All right, so that's it for today, and I will try to get back to you soon. So take care all, and I hope you the best during these difficult alignments. And I will see you soon. Bye-bye.